and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decisions. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet at the front of the room. Those wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after the application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations from the staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. Because of the number of applications tonight, I'm asking that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present their information on their application, other than questions from the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak should limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and any rebuttal by the applicant will also be limited to 3 minutes. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I'll introduce the rest of the board. To my left are Larry Tim, John Benz, Mark Schumacher, George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner, and Terry Dopp-Halkstad, zoning administrator, to my right. First variance to be considered, Melvin and Susan Haney, Wild Rose, Wisconsin, made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-232, paragraph 1 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 10 by 12 single-story shed after the fact, coming to within 4 feet of the southerly side lot line, 7.5-foot setback required in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land being part of lots 18, 19, and 20 of Oak Grove Plat, also known as Outlot 1 and 2 of Certified Survey Map 1321, being part of the southwest one quarter and the northwest one quarter, Section 35, Town of Springwater, Round Lake, N 5102W Round Lake Road. The applicant come forward, please. State your name for the record, please.
Melvin Heaney.
Suzanne Heaney.
Okay. Anything further to add at this time?
Not really. I'd just like to say good evening. My name is Melvin Heaney, and so is my wife, Suzanne. We're applying for this variance, as you already know, for a shed that's been 10 months old and has caused an extreme amount of hardship these past 2 months in money, totaling about $3,500 totally, plus a lot of mental anguish. We try to abide by other laws before we do anything, and we research the contract to contact the people involved. We both feel that we have done this. Number one, by talking to a zoning official on our property and getting his views on where this shed should be located, and during his visit, never mentioning a setback or a building permit. He met with my wife, and they discussed things, and Sue will bring up those facts that he did. We also turned around and mentioned number two is by talking to the neighbors. We had talked to the neighbor that directly is behind us or alongside of us. I asked her, I told her what we were going to do. I told her about the size of the shed. I said, once we cut down several trees, and I asked her if you would mind if in turn, she said, no, go right ahead. I said, well, yours is the same as mine. I noticed your shed is on the lot line. I'd like to do the same thing. I noticed several of them there. She said, I have no problem with that, Mel. I said, okay, thank you very much. Now, my wife will explain what took place with the meeting with Rick Urkel from the zoning division. First time, second time, and after the anonymous phone call.
I think we kind of went over this on Monday when the board appeared at the house. We looked at the first section that we wanted to place the shed, and Rick said, no, it has to be 63 feet off from the road. So then we walked around the property, and Rick came with only one conclusion where we could place it. And at that time, we walked to the front of the house alongside. He said, this is another part where you could put it, but you would need a variance, and that's the north side of the house. The board also looked at that. And when we looked at the place where we were going to put the shed, where Rick suggested, he said we should take down that tree. And I didn't hear anything on 7.5 feet off of the road, but he did say on his map there was no road. Then he didn't mention a variance on that side. He did mention one on the north side over on the opposite side of the house where we would need a variance. So at that time, I discussed all this with Mel, and if I would have known we would have needed a permit, I would have been in to get one right away. Case closed.
Okay, just a few general questions for the record then. Has there been a recent survey out there?
No, no, there hasn't since we built the house.
Are you sure of the lot lines?
Yes, I am.
Have you talked to the neighbors or the township about this?
Yes, I did.
And what was their response?
Well, the neighbors, I had a petition turned into Terry. All the neighbors are in favor of what, it's a good location. They'd like to see it left the where it is. They don't have a problem with it. I believe my neighbor to the side of me seems to have a problem with it. I don't know what actually the problem is. I think it's backing up. They're limited to parking anyway. So when they back onto the access road, she seems to have a problem. I am not aware of it. I'm not really sure. We don't talk now anymore since she's gotten funny about this whole thing.
Have you talked to the township at all?
We made a phone call to Everett Eckstein, let him know about it. There was no return call or anything to his concern.
Okay, what type of foundation is under the shed?
Gravel.
Are you proposing to move the shed to be consistently 4 foot off the side lot line?
Right now, I have an angle lot line. The lot line actually, I think you all have pictures of that. I have an angle lot line. The shed sits to be contoured with the house. It's it would be on the east side. It sits 4 feet off the lot line. On the east, on the north side, it fits 2 feet. So I mean, it's a 4 foot and a 2 foot. So we squared it off. I'd like to leave the shed the way it is. There's an extreme amount of time and effort and money to move it, but I would, if granted, I would move the shed another 2 feet to give me 6 feet on the west side 6 feet on the east side and 4 foot on the west side.
Are you sure that the shed will meet setbacks from the septic in relocating it?
According to the measurements, yes.
Okay. Any other improvements planned at this time?
No, nothing. Trees are all cut down and shed's been put up and stumps removed, so.
Have you considered any other options with the shed?
No, the other option is to remove it and try to sell it. That's why we considered originally the shed was $2,800. The cost of taking down the trees and wiring the shed and removal of the stump, it comes out to approximately $3,500 that we got invested in this. If I was to sell the shed alone, that was $2,800. I'm sure I'd not get $2,800 for a 10-month-old shed.
What hardships and unique property limitations would support the variance?
Basically, I used to keep my garden equipment, tractor and trailer and all the other necessities in my neighbor's garage. Henceforth, I would cut their grass for free. consequently, the kids have grown, the grandkids have grown up. There's a boat in the garage now, and I have no room. So there's no way to stick anything in there. And with 2.5-car garage, it's full.
Any other committee questions at this time?
I guess the one thing that keeps coming back to me is that if you were told you needed a variance from the north lot line, why would you think you wouldn't need one from the south lot line?
Well, he did mention it. And why would I think that? Because first of all, the road doesn't even exist, and we're going on his recommendation. So, I mean, what better person? I mean, if a police officer says you can't cross the street or you can't speed, you listen to the police officer. That's why we contacted the zoning department for that type of information. Now, if he was there, he should have said, well, you're gonna need a variance here, you'll also need a variance over here. But he said, no, this road's not even on the map. This would be a good location for it. So that's where we did. That's what we did, sir.
His notes to us show that he noted a couple other possible alternate locations. One on the north side, which Mark talked about, but then also where there's some large pines that would have to be taken down.
Well,
So there are other alternate locations, and he did note that in his notes.
but he
So-
said this, go ahead, sir.
And so we feel that, he did get that information to you.
Okay, but he said best location. He pointed out one in the large pine, but then he says he realizes that all pines would have to come down.
Right.
And so we took, the space, and this is the second spot that he said, and it's fine. He never had a problem with that either.
Because in his notes, he says right here that the property shed location does not meet the road setback or the drain field setback, so.
He said what?
In his notes,
Well, those were after the fact.
Well, 7/7 was the day he was out there,
7/7
of
of
2011.
2011 or 2012?
2011,
2011.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry, that wasn't conversed to us.
okay. I just wanted you to know that he,
Well, yes.
Put it in his notes
Also after
back
the
then.
fact, because we had talked about
well,
that.
somebody else did something after the fact out there, too. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it could go both ways. Now, who are you gonna, no, I won't.
Okay.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
all right. Thank you.
Any other committee questions? Okay, we have a chair then. Correspondence?
Yes, we have several. The first I'm going to read is from Mike Wenholtz of the DNR. It's addressed to me. Terry, I'm writing to provide comments regarding the Haney and Searing property variance requests and Town of Springwater and Handle the Third property zone change requests that are to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments on Thursday, August 23rd, 2012. Thank you for your time and assistance in discussing these requests and providing me with application materials. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and/or read before the Board of Adjustments. Regarding Haney, he says, since the proposed work is outside the ordinary high water mark setback, the department's only comment is it does not believe the applicants have demonstrated the request meets all criteria required for granting a variance. Specifically, the department believes the applicants have not demonstrated unnecessary hardship nor unique property limitations. Desiring more space for storing belongings is a circumstance of the applicant, not a justification for granting a variance. And he goes on to say, please note these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. And thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Haney and Searing property variance requests and the Town of Springwater and Handle the Third property zone change requests. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And that's signed Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources. We also have a letter that we received on August 9th addressed to all the members of the Board of Adjustments. And it says, this correspondence is to discuss the variance that is being requested for a shed that was placed on the property line of W5625 Jansen Drive. Originally, the shed was placed directly on the property line, and a huge boulder bordering the structure was over the property line, at which time I asked them to move the items off my driveway access road. As you can see from the property line, my parking spots plus the access road, which is my property for which I pay taxes on, has very limited room in this area. When Melvin and Sue originally placed their structure in boulders, myself and any guests he had were having a difficult time pulling out on my land with the structure and boulders in that location. I asked them to move the items off my land, and they moved it so the boulders are hugging the lot line, if not crossing still. Upon further investigation, I was told that Melvin was turned down for a building permit for this very structure, but he disregarded the denial. By the end of summer 2011, he made the choice to put the structure up, disregarding the zoning laws as well as the permit denial. He further pushed the limits on his placement of the structure and boulder placement. It is my understanding that Mel is appealing to move the structure 4 feet off the lot line if the variance is approved. What will stop him from getting a 4-foot boulder to adorn his building and hug my already limited driveway? I paid a premium amount for this property, pay property taxes, and do not appreciate others taking advantage of my property and the zoning rules because they feel they are above the rules. Thank you for your time, and that's signed Troy and Judy Holapa, Holappa. Oh. Sorry. Have another letter that we received today, to whom it may concern. I'm writing to express my support in favor of granting a variance to Melvin and Suzanne Haney for the shed on their property. The shed in question is very well constructed and maintained. Its appearance in their yard and in our neighborhood is not in any way a distraction, nor does it detract from any aesthetic value. If anything, it adds to it. It is painted to match the house and, in my opinion, blends very nicely into its surroundings. Given the challenges associated with the location of septic systems in conjunction with the decision on where to place such a structure, it is my understanding that its current location represents a more than reasonable decision. Additionally, the shed is already set back far enough from the adjacent driveway such that I feel there is ample room for our vehicles to maneuver safely on one's own property without it interfering. I would finally add that the Haneys always maintain a lovely property that is meticulously cared for, and in my belief, the current placement of this shed does not in any way negatively impact any of our surrounding properties. And that's signed Carrie Hofsenberger, H-O-P.
First name is Terry.
Carrie, C-A-R-I. And then it's H-O-P-F-E-N-S-P-E-R-G-E-R. And we received a letter on August 22nd. Looks like it's addressed to Mel and Suzanne. Mel, here's my statement for your review and comment. Also, please confirm this is the correct email address, and it lists the Land Conservation and Zoning Office email address. I want to voice my full support for the variance request sought by Melvin and Suzanne Haney for their garden shed. It is my understanding that it is 2 or 3 feet short of the 7-foot offset from the property line as required by county ordinance. The Haney's property is one of the most, if not the most, aesthetically appealing and well-maintained properties in the immediate neighborhood. I am delighted to have the Haneys for a neighbor, as their property reflects favorably upon my property and other properties in the neighborhood, improving the surrounding property values generally. The Haneys have made many improvements to their property in the 10 years I have been their neighbor. In the last few years, they resided their home with a very attractive faux log siding and replaced their windows. They also have done some very attractive landscaping along the south side of their property, taking out pine tree stubs that were topped by the power company and planting 2 evergreen trees in an attractive boulder and decorative mulch garden. They also line the front of their drive with attractive boulders, and the list could go on. On a regular basis, they spend many hours maintaining as attractive a lawn and garden as I can imagine. Their most recent improvement to the property is the shed in question, which is not the eyesore that garden sheds typically are, but a beautiful faux log shed that matches the siding on their home and blends in with their home to the point of being near unnoticeable to the casual observer. I am not privy to the discussions the Haneys have had with county officials regarding the placement of their shed, nor do I understand exactly what options are available, but from my casual perspective, it seems there are 3 basic options for the location of a garden shed: along the side of the house, in front of the house, or between the house and the lake. I would consider the latter 2 options as far less appealing aesthetically from my viewpoint as a neighbor and someone who enjoys the lake. I assume the purpose of the ordinance is to avoid a crowded appearance by not having structures too close to the lot line, and thereby improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Thus, it seems unfair to me that the Haneys should be required to incur additional expense and effort to abide by the letter of the law, when they have done more to improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood in my mind than anyone else. I also think it is relevant to consider the numerous nonconforming uses, though grandfathered, on surrounding properties. While I do not mean to disparage any of my neighbors' properties, I find it unfair that the Haneys should be held to a standard that their surrounding neighbors are not so held. It also seems particularly incongruous to me that the Haneys could put up a chain link fence on their lot line, but can't put the attractive shed they have added 4 feet off their lot line. I would like to assure you that the Haneys are not guilty of intentionally ignoring the law and the addition of their shed. I have known the Haneys for 10 years, and they are good neighbors and good citizens. Any infraction on their part was unintentional, and they are entitled to every consideration you can give them. To conclude, I believe the ordinance allows for variances because it is understood that situations will arise where the public good is best served by not enforcing the strict letter of the ordinance. In my judgment, this is just such a situation, and for the sake of fairness and justice, I support the Haneys' request for a variance. And that's from Curtis Calvert, C-A-L-V-E-R-T.
Where is that property in location to the? Okay,
West.
okay.
And then we have the petition that the landowners mentioned, and they wrote on here, "Hello neighbors, we're looking for your support and assistance on an issue with our new shed. It appears that the zoning office has received a complaint about our shed being too close to the property line. We will be asking for a variance to keep our shed on our lot. We have had the land assessor or zoning department out to review our property way before we got the shed as to where we could place a shed of this size, 10 by 12, and he felt that this would be the best spot for the shed once the trees were taken down. At that same time during his visit, nothing was mentioned about a setback of 7.5 feet from the property line or that we needed a building permit. On his revisit, he still feels the same and that the shed looks like it could pass on a variance due to the sanitation setbacks in our yard with the septic system. This would be the only spot available, so we might have a possibility with the zoning commission on keeping our shed as is. We are asking for you, our surrounding neighbors, for your signature and support to help us in attaining this variance. Thanks in advance with your help." And that is signed by Curtis and Louise Calvert, Carrie Hopsfinsberger, Rick and Donna Shem, S-C-H-E-M-M, Steve and Andrea Pothast, P-O-T-T-H-A-S-T, Matt and Corrine Boyer, Mark and Kristen Frankowski, Jim and Carol Fortune, Jack and Kathleen Retzloff, Mark and Penny Wavero, Roger and Darlene Jensen, Frank Hujic, H-U something I-K, John R., former owner of House Next Door to Mel, Dolores Jansen, Bob and Linda Holsinger, Dan and Linda Gauthier, Jim Holcomb, Paul Pesha, Robert and Pam, no last name, Dan Mingus, and Jim and Laura Drake. And that's it for correspondence.
Anyone registered?
No one registered.
No one registered in favor or in objection?
Nope, no one registered to speak. You need to sign the slips outside of the room if it's okay with the chair.
Sure. You want to go on with staff comments or what?
Probably should wait.
Okay, registered to speak in favor? Thank you.
Okay.
The last note you read, and I think, like I said, I think the Heaney's have done everything they can to maintain.
Speak into the microphone, please.
Done everything they can to maintain a very nice property. They have a very nice property there. I think it reflects highly on everybody's values. I think that, as I said before, the incongruity here to me is that most of the surrounding homes there would not pass today's ordinance. They're all grandfathered and they have numerous non-conforming uses, particularly even with sheds. I think the person across the street that's complaining has a shed that's over a lot line. So to hold the Heaney's to a standard to be 7 feet off and everybody else doesn't conform because they're grandfathered, it just seems a little unfair to me that this is a kind of situation that you take into account what's going on around you. Similarly, like if people are really close to the lake, they let you come a little closer. So that's my viewpoint. I just, I know that you have your own viewpoint, you know a lot more about this than I do, but it seems to me that this is a case that would be, the exercise of a variance would not be an unreasonable act on your part, and I think it would be, you know, the fairest thing to do in this case.
Okay, thank you. Anyone objecting may speak? Okay,
Okay, well, in all due respect to all the people that signed it saying it's beautiful, it is, it's a very nice shed. They don't have to deal with what I have to deal with. Property line from Mel and myself is right here. Mel's house is here, my house is here, but my driveway butts up to this. So with that shed, let me just go back. I never said, no, 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 it's okay. Mel asked me a question last year. Do you mind if I put a bird house on one of the property line things? It's a 2-foot bird house with stones around it, not affecting my driveway. And I said, no, no problem at all. That's fine. Then I see that this shed is going up and I'm starting to see all these stones all over the place. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's just going to be a little shed, whatnot. Well, next thing and he had also mentioned to me that someone was out there and that someone had denied him a permit from his mouth. And I was like, well, what can you do? And so when he placed the shed, here's the lot line, he placed his shed on the lot line and put a huge boulder, huge, bigger than this, adorning it. This is my driveway. This is my land. It is nice. He does maintain his property very well. But that's my property. Makes it very difficult. I paid a lot of money for this place. It's a cottage. I know it's not a full-blown house. It's a cottage. It's not the best looking. I do have a shed that is right on the lot line that is 20-some years old. It was there when I bought it. I understand that if it goes down, I'm done. I understand I can't put one there. There were just some inconsistencies and things he said that I said. I did not say that. I said about a birdhouse. I said a birdhouse was okay. 2-foot birdhouse. Not 10-foot shed on my property. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, the rocks are still on my lot. We just measured them today.
no, this way.
We just measured it today, very scientifically with fishing line. But I mean, we did stand at one point and the other and hold the fishing line, and it is the rock is still over on my line with other rocks that he has on there. I don't have a lot of room. It's nice looking, yes, but he has a huge pole shed a mile down the road. Why do you need to have a huge pole shed and this shed on my property? Do you have any questions for me?
No. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Staff? Sure.
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other application that they are considering tonight. And they visited both of the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on site. At this time, I would like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include an unnecessary hardship as being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards, and that if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present their case and provide that burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted there are other alternatives. Unfortunately, one was not having a shed. They could relocate it to a compliant location, as was pointed out by Rick when he was out there, or they could also try to obtain a variance from the state for a relaxation of the septic system setback should they meet the 7.5-foot setback off the lot line in that location. They also noticed that not having a shed is not a hardship according to the statutory requirements that the applicant is required to meet. There is reasonable use of the property already without the placement of a shed, and they also noticed that the existing boathouse, sauna, and retaining walls along the shoreline are non-conforming according to today's code standards as well. I guess I, too, do not believe that the variance request standards as stated in the statutes have been met, and that the applicant should not be approved unless the standards can be met. Otherwise, we are headed on a very dangerous path of permitting structures based on popularity or neighborhood consensus, and not according to the laws and guidelines that we have and we should abide by. I also believe our staff did everything they could to provide direction to the applicant, and it is extremely unfortunate that they did not follow that direction. And maybe it's because they didn't understand it, but you know, it was provided. I am positive of that. Staff notes are clear about locations and setbacks and the procedures necessary for the landowner to comply with the zoning regulations. And that's it for my comments.
No. The applicant have anything in rebuttal?
First of all, number one, I'm not going to get into a shouting match with anything. I think these unnecessary hardships are really a little ridiculous and a little stiff. Each one of you, if you were in the situation, would look at it. Whether I got a pole barn down the road, that's down the road, that's your say. That's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. If your zoning department person that came out to my property suggested 2 spots, like you say, and he knows about the 7.5-foot setback, that's illegal also, because there's no way that you're going to put a 10 by 12-foot shed in that area after we look at all of this stuff and where we're at right now in that area that he first suggested. He suggested this second one, and that's where we're at. And Rick, I know you know what we're talking about. Second of all, in due respect to Ms. Hoopla, the way she comes across, whatever, it comes along. I had asked her right there by the driveway. I didn't ask about the birdhouse. I asked her, I says, would you mind if I put up a shed next to the lot line like yours is? She says, I have no problem with that. Is the birdhouse what she's speaking about? I says, I also would like to put some rocks and a birdhouse right over the top of you and Carrie's lot height. All you have to do is pick it up. The stake is right underneath there. The pole just comes up. It's surrounded by rocks. The pole comes up. There's the little pink stake, survey stake. So between that little pink survey stake, you folks all seen it with the rope. That rope was right on that survey stake. It was also done by the telephone pole survey stake. You all have pictures of that road. Nobody's trying to hinge on it. You see where everything right now is on my property. The big, huge rock, which is acceptable per Terry, can be placed along a lot line. Terry, you mentioned about liability. There is no liability. If you hit my rock, that's your problem, not mine. It's on my property, per the sheriff's department and per my insurance agent. I already checked into that. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this variance. And I would like to have you people understand that, yes, I think it is a hardship. You have unnecessary hardship. But if you look at that, that thing is so doggone tactful that nobody in the world is going to come close to that. People need storage. You bet your life you need storage. Everybody needs storage. You come along with unique property limitations. I mean, does there have to be something? I mean, I don't think anybody in the world is going to start meeting any one of these things where you're going to have to say no, no, no. You come along and talk about my front that's non-conforming. That's over 25, 30 years old. It was conforming then, now it's non-conforming. I can't do nothing about that anymore except pull it all out. But we're talking about the shed problem here. And in the public interest and everything else, I think it should be okay. But I'm not the law.
Just referring to the notes here, he did list 3 possible lake locations for the shed. The one where it is, proposed shed location does not meet road setback or drain field setback.
Well, Rick, you know doggone well, you stood there and measured it.
We're talking to the committee here.
He
But
stood,
it's right on his notes from 7/7/11.
And Rick and I going over this, Rick should have showed me what he was writing down, or maybe he came back to the office and rewrote what he had in mind but did not say to me. If he did that, I would like to see my signature on what he wrote down. Because him and I discussed it, not Mel. Now, do you have something where I signed off on that?
His notes.
His notes, okay.
that could be after the fact. I mean, we're not looking at something really big here. We're just looking at the shed that, if acceptable, will be pushed up 4 feet again. Now, it's totally everything is on my property right now. It'll be pushed forward 4 feet. I'd like to leave it set right there, but it'll be pushed forward 2 feet like I have in my request. But it's not the end of the world, gentlemen. I mean, it's there for a reason. If that reason wouldn't have been there, and if we knew this, I abide by the law as much as I possibly can. If I knew this, I would not put the stuff up there to cause a problem. I would have not spent $3,500 and said, uh-oh, you're wrong, now you gotta move it. Come on, guys. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next variance to be considered, Stephen and Pamela Suring, Elm Grove, Wisconsin, have made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2, 58-823, paragraph C, paragraph 2, and 58-903, paragraph F, 4, and 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 28 by 48 single-family dwelling on a basement with a 15 by 28-foot deck. Existing single-family dwelling to be raised coming to within 11 feet of the westerly side lot line, 15-foot setback required on an existing non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width at the lake and the building site, and to alter an existing 18 by 14 two-story non-conforming boathouse with deck to remain as 1 story with 252 square feet in size, 180 square foot allowed, and to remain 7 foot from the ordinary high water mark of Big Hills Lake, 10-foot setback required in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. Location Lot 1, certified survey map number 158, and easement Volume 682, page 2 of being part of Government Lot 1 and part of the Lakeview Camp unrecorded plat, being part of the northwest 1/4, the northwest 1/4, Section 2, Town of Mount Morris, Lake W5653, Youngs Lane. And would you state your name for the record, please?
Pamela Searing.
Steve Searing.
Okay. What do you have to tell us about your variance out there?
Well, things remain pretty much the same. After our last meeting, we reconsidered all of the things that the board here had suggested, and one was being just to build a new structure. So, you know, we shopped around and looked at a modular home that would be within the budget limitations that we have, that would be more conforming on the lot as it currently exists. Our current structure is 32 feet, taking it down to 28 foot across, as well as, you know, offering to the community that we would take the top story off the boathouse.
Okay. Anything else, or else we have just some general questions?
No, and I did talk to all of the neighbors that were available, and none of them had any objections. Most of them came over just to find out when the meeting was and to say, you know, good luck to us.
Okay. Has there been a recent survey, or are you sure of the lot lines?
Yes, we are certain of the lot lines.
Okay. And you've talked to the neighbors in the township?
We did not talk to anyone in the township, but we did talk to all the neighbors.
Okay. What type of foundation? Will this be a full basement? Not a walkout basement or anything like that? Raised to accommodate any windows to the lower level, or? Okay. How far, excuse me, go ahead.
I'm just imagining that the one neighbor to the east is, you know, the basement is raised maybe a foot or so.
Okay.
No exposed basement whatsoever.
Okay. Next question then, how far above current grade do you expect the first floor to be?
Probably that 1 or 2 feet. I was imagining we would have it level with the neighboring property.
Okay. What I'm getting at is you're not going to bring in a bunch of fill and
Not-
set it on top of a hill and, okay.
Nothing- The neighboring property has a full basement under it, and she is, I would guess it's
About 2 feet.
2 feet. And that's all we would do, and then try and grade it towards the other property line.
Couple of steps, in other words.
Yeah, just to compromise between
Sure.
the properties on either side.
Just a one-story home then? Okay. And you're pretty flat there. You probably won't have much problem with stormwater runoff?
No, we have sand for rain, so the water just goes right down.
Any other improvements planned other than, you know, bringing the boathouse into compliance?
Just the deck that we also mentioned, you know, that's really a future plan, probably not done for, you know, at least a year. Budgetary constraint, but we thought, put it in for the same variance instead of another $300 application.
So the deck will come at a later point?
Probably. Unless we have a windfall. A year or two. A year probably.
I would hope we would be able to do it next summer. I'm a CPA, all of my income by April. You know, now you just try and hold on to the end of the year.
It kind of depends on how much the boathouse costs. I mean, that is an expense that we have not planned for. And determining the timing on the deck will kind of,
Well, normally variances are good for a year period.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And then you could get the permit. Good for another year.
We should be able to accomplish it within that period of time.
Okay. All other setbacks will be met, including that of the septic system? Okay. You'll use the existing driveway, and there's plenty of room there for a turnaround? You're going to be altering the boathouse, you said, to bring it in compliance with the, taking the deck off and putting a pitched roof on it? Okay.
What about the shed up by the driveway?
One with the raspberry bushes on top.
That thing can come down any old time. I mean, that's there by the grace of God.
Yeah, okay.
In your long-range plans, have you given any thought to repairing or replacing or doing something with your seawall there?
Yeah, really trying to figure out what we can do with the DNR. Yeah, I don't really know what to be done, I'd love suggestions.
I'll tell you.
The problem, if you put in the riprap, it's how do you conform that to the western lot line?
We will consult on it.
They'll give you some information.
Okay, any other committee questions? You got anything? Okay, thank you. Any correspondence?
Yes, as mentioned earlier, we have a letter from the DNR. I'm going to dispense with the niceties of where it starts and just read you the part about Searings. It says, the department understands the following. Storm damage has caused significant and structural damage to the existing principal structure. The Board of Adjustment suggested a new structure be built rather than repair the existing damaged structure. The entire existing principal structure and the proposed principal structure are both behind the ordinary high water mark setback. The second floor and the overhang of the boathouse are proposed to be removed, but even so it remains non-conforming, and the land the boathouse is located on is fill that is held in place by wood timbers as a seawall that are in disrepair. The department recommends as a minimum the pitched roof of the boathouse remodel repair meet the height restriction of section 58-903, parens F, parens 1 of the Waushara County Zoning Code, and the wood timbers be removed, replaced, and overall the seawall be properly repaired. Finally, since the boathouse is being remodeled and or repaired, the department encourages the applicants to make the changes necessary to meet all requirements of section 58-903, parens F, including the maximum area of 180 square feet. This is not a requirement, but would make the boathouse a conforming structure. And that's it, signed by Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources.
Anyone registered to speak in favor or objecting?
No one registered, and there's nothing else.
Staff comments?
Yeah, and this is another variance. We're asking for a relaxation of a dimensional standard. We were here a couple months ago, and it was denied because it was felt that the applicants didn't meet the requirements at that time. So now they've come back with a different application to see if this one does meet that burden of proof that they need to provide. When the board visited the property, they noted that the alterations to the boathouse would make it much more conforming to our current codes, and that the current non-conforming decking by the water just to the east of the boathouse should be removed. The non-conforming shed up by the driveway should also be removed, and they did note that the seawall is in extremely poor condition. The board discussed the seawall and strongly recommended that the landowner seek advice and necessary permits from the DNR to address this issue as soon as possible. If it's not addressed soon, there might be some further damage to the boathouse. Other than that, I think the landowners have taken the advice of county staff and the board following the June public hearing and come up with a plan that fits this lot while addressing some of the problems with the existing structures and land features. And just to remind the board, this is a non-conforming lot due to lot width. So they are asking for a side lot setback variance on one side. That's it.
Okay, the applicant have anything in rebuttal? Okay, that closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We will adjourn to the room directly through those doors for a business meeting. You're welcome to come in and hear how the applications are decided. Yep, we'll switch.
Rick, Rick. Coming this way, Fred, I'll wait.
You can if you want.
Said he had his hearing aid fixed.
Take your time, Fred.
Want to sit on my
Would you?
lap for this one?
There you'll probably have it. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Balls, you are bossy. Yes, you are bossy.
So I said, you don't say a word, Rick.
I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustments. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. The same time limits will apply to testimony, which is 5 minutes for the applicant, outside of the committee questions, and 3 minutes for any other testimony, including any rebuttal by the applicant. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and recorded with reflect their observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by the administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my far left, Joe Piaski, Larry Crawford, Fred Gallerup, Bob Wadle, Terry Dodd Pockstead, zoning administrator. To my right, my name is Mark Kirschner. First application tonight, Laura Cornell, doing business as Rax Rugs and Tails Taxidermy, Berlin, Wisconsin. Gary and Judith, thank you, landowner, has made application for conditional use in accordance with sections 58-454, paragraph 12 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish a taxidermy, custom furniture, and retail gift shop utilizing a 27 by 72 and a 27 by 25 portion of an existing 54 by 72 pole building in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location: an approximate 9.1 acre parcel of land known as Lot 3 of Certified Survey Map number 4236, being part of the northwest corner of the southeast quarter, section 27, town 18 north, range 13 east, town of Aurora. Fire number N666 34th Drive. Is the applicant present? Would you please come forward? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Laura Carell.
Can you give us any information or explain everything to us, Laura?
Sure. In 2005, my business expanded out of the reins of a small corner of my basement. And in plans for future growth, we did construct the building that you stated in your dimensions you gave me. We moved into it in about 2009 and started utilizing it as the taxidermy business and woodworking. I was unaware that I needed to change my home occupational permit at the time that we got the building permit into the conditional use permit, and I was contacted by your department several months ago stating that due to the fact that it looked like we had expanded to a gift shop, that we probably needed to apply for the conditional use permit. So I guess that's where we're at now.
Okay. The committee has a few questions for you. Committee?
Has there been a recent survey done of the property? Do you know where your lot lines are?
I don't personally, but I do have the survey map, and we did stay with the setbacks in accordance to,
Okay, and could you describe your proposed business a little more in detail than,
I offer basic taxidermy services, as well as gifts, woodworking, engraving, crafts, jewelry, a little bit of everything.
okay? Will there be any employees outside of the immediate family? Okay. What sort of traffic will there be, and what sort of parking will you need for both customers and deliveries?
A very large area in front of the building, I'm sure you witnessed it, for traffic. There's plenty of room for trailers to turn around. We did allow on the side of the building room for people to back right up to the side overhead doors. I hope there's enough space. Over the last 2 years, we've never had any problems with traffic and parking. Usually the traffic is between the months of about October through January. We might have 2 to 3 people a day, varying, of course, on success in the woods. But generally, we might see about 4 to 5 people actually come in and out during the week, the rest of the year.
It's been noted that you have an advertising sign. Do you know what size this sign is?
I believe the sign is 5 by 8. The actual sign itself, not including the posts and the retaining wall circle that it's enclosed in.
Are you aware of the state building codes and other state requirements, and will they be met? Are you using the existing building and no new buildings are planned? Is that correct? Okay. What sort of sanitary facilities are you planning?
We always offer our customers who request to use a bathroom that we will take them inside of our home.
Are there any floor drains planned in the building, and if so, how will these wastes be disposed of?
No, sir, we carry buckets.
Okay. Are there any toxic or hazardous wastes that are used in either a taxidermy or custom gift-making business? And if so, how are these handled and any excesses disposed of?
I don't believe any of the chemicals we use are actually toxic. They're pretty much biodegradable tanning solutions. We don't use like formaldehyde or anything within, toxic standards.
Are any other additions or buildings planned other than what you've indicated on the site plan? Will all activities be inside and no business or products stored outside?
No products are stored outside. Occasionally, if I get something large like a buffalo, I will take it to the yard just to rinse it and hose it down. But other than that, no, everything's inside of the building.
Are you planning on a new driveway? Do you need a separate fire number for the business, separate from your residence?
That I'm not sure of, sir. I don't believe I do, but nobody said anything at the time when we applied for the building permit.
If an approval is granted, when would you start the operation?
September, now. It's kind of in progress.
That's all the questions I have.
Any other committee questions?
Actually, I do.
Yeah.
So you tan your own hides? I have heard of other people that send them out to be tanned, but you actually do
I
it?
tan them at home.
And then, can you just take the excess solution, or is there none? I'm not very familiar with the process.
There is a leftover solution that we dump in a gravel pile. It's not anything that's harmful to humans. I guess it might be something I might need to research further, if possible.
No,
But
sometimes
as far as I
paint,
know, it's
sometimes
not
paint you can
harmful.
take to the dump too. So let it
We do
dry
take
out
a lot
and
of our waste products to the dump, as in
Okay.
carcasses and such.
okay.
We also utilize an outdoor wood burner.
Yeah, and then anything with the furniture. Obviously, there's no stripping, so but
No, we
the
don't.
finishes or
We finish so much. I'm sorry I use we. My husband does work with me, but
Mhm.
we more create crafts out of raw lumber and 2x4s and 1x. But we create them and paint them.
okay. So
But mostly it's smaller crafts. We do build some, a small amount of larger furniture and some custom furniture.
So you don't do a lot of varnishing or anything?
No, very little. I would say maybe 3 projects last year we actually did use a varnish on.
Okay.
Like a file cabinet, custom file cabinet, majority of it's just painted crafts.
I guess I would encourage you to check into that solution and just make sure that that's an acceptable means of disposal. I have no clue, but,
I never thought of that, so.
you know,
I figure if I put my hands in it, it can't be that bad.
right. And maybe it's not. I would just double check, because, you know, you don't want it on the ground and in your groundwater eventually if there is something in it, so, okay?
Okay, thank you. Correspondence?
We have none. We have no one registered to speak,
In favor or opposition?
either one.
Staff comments.
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits, because this is a little different animal than what we were dealing with previously with a variance. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright. In almost every zone, you can build a house. You know, you don't need to get any special permission, except you need to make sure that you get all the proper permits and have the inspections. But you don't need any special permits or conditional use permits. And then there's uses that may be permitted, provided that certain conditions are met. And that's what we're looking at here. This is a use that may be permitted, provided that there are certain parameters that can be complied with, so that the use remains in keeping with the surrounding uses in area. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits, so people kind of can understand that language a little better. Again, it's the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure that it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there are no sanitary facilities located in the shop, and that the homeowner should check with the building inspector to make sure that that's an acceptable alternative to use the bathroom in the home. One address number would suffice for both structures at the landowner's discretion. Again, sometimes insurance companies or other people want a separate number to show the location of the business, so it might be something you want to check on. We can easily assign one if you need one. And the location was on the end of a dead-end road. And again, there were chemicals that may be involved, so you want to make sure that proper handling and disposal is assured of. But other than that, I think that's it.
Yep. Okay. Anything else the applicant would like to add? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next application we have tonight, George and Nancy Eeleman, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, have made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-454, paragraph 36 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to place a used 28 by 60 foot, one-story, single-family dwelling on a pier foundation in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 5.01 acre parcel of land known as Lot 4 of Certified Survey Map number 739, being part of the north half of the northeast quarter, section 36, town 18 north, range 10 east, town of Dakota. Fire number W7454, Retreat Road. Is the applicant present? Would you please come up? Would you both give your name for the record, please?
Good evening. I'm George Elliman.
Nancy Elliman.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit what you want to do, George?
Pretty much what you said. We're going to put a manufactured home, 1,600 square feet, just about in the smack center of our 5-acre lot. And it said it was going to be on piers. It's actually going to be on a concrete slab. And we elected to go with a slab because you're not going to believe this, but we have a lot of mice up there.
Who doesn't have a lot of mice?
Okay. When you put this on the concrete pier, you're going to have it anchored down or whatever?
Yes.
Committee questions, please?
Okay, I have a few questions. Has there been a recent survey on your property?
Not recent.
Not to our knowledge.
But do you know where your lot lines are?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additions or alterations planned to the home, like a deck or a patio?
Not now.
No, not
Okay.
at this time.
Are there other Let me see, yeah, other buildings planned? Any other buildings on the property?
Not now.
What type of foundation? We just found out, I guess, what type of foundation we're going to be dealing with, a concrete slab.
Pretty substantial. What's
5.5 inches instead of 4.
in 8 inches along the perimeter?
Okay. Where is the home now that you're going to place on the property?
Fond du Lac, North Fond du Lac, actually.
Okay.
Flood mobile homes.
Do the pictures of the home accurately represent its present condition?
Yes.
And is a new driveway needed?
No.
Do you already have an address or a fire number?
Yes.
And was the septic system installed in 1988?
Yes.
Have you maintained the septic system regularly since you have owned the property?
We just had it pumped last month.
And inspected.
Okay. And will you need to make any changes to the septic system when the new home is placed?
No.
Will you be moving the travel trailer and addition that is presently on the property?
Yes, that'll be removed.
We traded it in.
If an approval is given, when would the home be placed on the site?
Towards the end of September.
The requested application, if approved, will be
I
consistent.
think we got to do a lot of other
Oh,
stuff.
we can't go there yet, can we?
Nope.
Oh, okay, well,
Any other committee questions? Joe, anything? Okay, thank you.
Because I'd love to read some correspondence first.
Correspondence first.
We have a letter from the town of Dakota. Addressed to me, Dear Terry, the Dakota Town Board voted unanimously to approve the conditional use application of George and Nancy Elliman as long as it meets all of your requirements. And that signed Barbara Straczynski, clerk. And that was received on August 22nd. That's it for correspondence, and no one registered.
No one registered in favor or opposition. Staff comments, please.
Okay, again, we have a conditional use permit. Several years ago, I think it was actually the town of Dakota that had a rash of used homes that were being moved in that weren't quite as nice as they had hoped that they would be. So they asked if we would look at our code, and there was other townships that agreed. So this is kind of just to make sure that we get a nice product when we're done for the used homes. We haven't done them that long. So again, you know, making sure that it's going to be in keeping with the neighbors and the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there is an existing septic in the areas and no major changes should be necessary to hook into that system, and that a new well is planned. They also noticed that the site is well screened from surrounding properties with all the trees and both the private and public roads. As for my comments, and I mentioned this on site, the septic system was installed in 1988 and at that time was sized for a 3-bedroom home. However, since that time, the state has changed the plumbing code a little bit, and the system is now sized for slightly less than 3 bedrooms. And this is a 3-bedroom home. We can still utilize the system, but the landowner would have to sign and record an affidavit indicating the system is slightly undersized, and if something should happen where they need to replace it, they would put in an adequately sized system. You know, it really makes no sense to abandon a system that works just because it's a little too small. So that's the only comment I have.
Is there anything else the applicant would like to add? Okay, thank you. Next item is a zone change. Town of Springwater, on behalf of the affected landowners, has made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-541 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from an AG General Agricultural to an RS20 single-family residential due to the creation of 4 residential lots pursuant to will, ranging in size from 0.7 to 1.02 acres each within the shoreland area. Location, an approximate 3.4 acre parcel of land known as lots 1 through 4 of certified survey map number 5895, being part of the government lot 6 and part of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, section 2, town 20 north, range 11 east, town of Springwater, Pine Lake, fire number W5540, county road K. Is there an applicant present? I don't think so.
Yes.
Yes?
Can you come up and just answer a couple questions?
I could answer questions. Springwater, I guess, is the applicant, but I'm one of the landowners of the applicant.
You're, okay, okay, that's
Tom
fine.
Loretson.
Okay, can you explain a few things to us, Tom?
Sure. Oh, well, this property, my mother had about 400 feet of lake frontage on Pine Lake, was divided into 4 parcels, and being that there was a big farm across the road, it was all zoned agriculture. Now, we probably want to build a house on it, so we'd like to get it changed. We asked Springwater and the county zoning administration how to go about it, and they recommended they do it like this because they would like to get it changed also to residential, if I'm repeating that properly.
Sounds good. Committee questions, please?
So the lots were created to the Stern family to give to 4 of her children, right?
Correct.
Now more conductive to residential development than the original farm use, the home and adjacent property had before. Is that right?
I would say they're better used for residential as they are for farm, and I believe that both of the properties on both sides, the east and the west, are zoned residential. And all 4 of the landowners on this property would like them zoned residential. My wife and I are one. There's a corporation that I'm own part of, and my sister the other 2. Yes.
Is this compliment to the town's land use permit? Is this go with it?
Well, I believe that it does, and I've talked to Everett Eichstein about it, and he seemed very receptive to doing it, and yes, there is a recent survey, a certified survey map, and the lot lines are very well established.
Do you property owners know where the lot lines are?
Yes.
Any other committee questions? Anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
Yes, we have, if you'll recall, Michael Wenholtz wrote regarding the 2 variance requests and the 2 zone change requests. And again, I'm going to dispense with all the formalities when he started out and just address this one. Town of Springwater, since the proposed lots are sufficient in size to allow reasonably sized structures and meet ordinary high water mark setbacks, the department has no comment regarding this request. And that was signed Michael Wenholtz. So he commented to say he had no comment.
Is that all you have in correspondence?
That's it.
Anyone in favor or
No one registered?
registered in favor or opposition? Staff comments, please.
Well, as I usually do, now I'm going to explain a little bit about zone changes. And I should point out that this was one property that the committee did not visit. They visited all the other ones, but they felt they were familiar with it enough and did not need to visit this one. So they did not go out on yesterday morning to visit this one. But zone changes are much more permanent than any of the other permits we do. I mean, we're going to permanently change the zone from agricultural to residential. In this case, it certainly makes sense to everybody that hears about it because these are lakefront properties, and you know, lakeside development doesn't tend to be agricultural anymore. It all does tend to be residential. So it certainly makes it consistent with everything else along the shoreline. Because it is so permanent, a zone change must pass 3 different boards. First is the Planning and Zoning Committee, following tonight's public hearing. Then the application will go to the full county board for their review, and then finally back to the town board for their review. I would assume the town board's in favor because they made the application. The committee felt that the documentation from the town was complete, and then again, they did not field visit this site because they were familiar with it. That's it for my comments.
Okay, is there anything else the applicant would like to add or anything? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, the next zone change, Shirley and Harry Handel III, Wautoma, Wisconsin. Shirley and Harry Handel III and Pearl Woodworth, landowners, have made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-541 of the Waushara County zoning code from an AG general agricultural zone to an RS20 single-family residential for the purpose of creating 2 additional residential lots, resulting in a total of 4 residential lots ranging in size from approximately 0.5 to 1.0 acre in size, and to be served by a newly created town road, and to conditionally establish a hobby train shop on 1 lot with an existing single-family dwelling and detached garage on the parcel furthest to the north within the shoreland area. Location: 2 lots combined, being approximately 4.7 acres in size, known as lots 1 and 2 of certified survey map number 3466, being part of the government lot 2 and part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, section 6, town 18 north, range 11 east, town of Marion, Lake Irrigami, fire number W7149 and W7190, State Highway 21. Is the applicant present? Would you please come forward? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Harry Handel III.
Thank you, Harry. Can you tell us a little bit what you got planned there, Harry?
Well, in order to sell, my mother-in-law passed away, and her house is on a parcel there that's part of them 3 lots. My house is on 1 lot. Her house is on another lot, and that comes out on 21, but you can't put a driveway out there. So when we built my property, my house and my property, I built the road all the way down to my house and off of 21. And I'm going to turn that road to the township of Marion, and then we can put houses and use that road for the amount of feet we have on a public road. Now, I've already put in a lift station and public sewer. It's 8-inch with manholes, and I have all the utilities running alongside of the road, and 2/3 of the road is already blacktop. It's 20 foot wide, and it's a 4-foot right-of-way, 4-rod right-of-way. And it has to curve because when I put my building in, I didn't realize what happened, but I wound up too close to it. So from where her lot line ends and where my lot line ends, we're going to put an S in there, and then there's going to be a cul-de-sac at the end of it, 120 feet. And Waleco said if I blacktop it up to the lot line there and put a gravel one in there, they would be sufficient, because whoever buys all the rest of that land has to subdivide it, and that road has to be used to get into the subdivision, and there is another road to the west of it that goes into the gravel pit, and that's the 2 roads that they have to do that. And the sewer is already put in there, and I own the sewer. But at the time when we get, whoever buys it will have the sewer. But it's been built for 70 homes. There's 2 pumps. They alternate, and it's pumped up into the manhole on our side of 21 towards Silver Lake area up in there. And that's basically, and as far as the train shop, and all I do is sell a few little trains. I don't make a living at it. And we do our plumbing business. The office is in there, so we don't do it out of our house because people want to come in there. That's basically what I'm after.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, are you planning any deed restrictions on these lots? Any what? Deed restrictions?
Well, no, we don't have anything. We don't. First of all, we got to have the Corps of Engineers, Army Engineers coming out. Terry set that up Tuesday at 1 o'clock and see what. There's a small piece of wetlands on one, and we know that you can't build on it. And if it makes a lot unbuildable, that's what it'll be. I mean, we don't. That's got nothing to do with it. But we're going to find out. As far as restrictions, I don't think we have any restrictions.
Sometimes people say you can't have a clothesline outside, or.
But they'll say the house is all gonna be painted green or.
No. Okay.
I don't care what color they paint them. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they're going to come out and paint it purple, you're going to hear me coming.
Are there any other similar developments in
I'm
the
not
area?
familiar with any, what you do with deeds. I don't understand any of that.
That's something you
beyond
would
me.
place on it yourself if you wanted to. Like the garage has gotta be so big, or match the house, or there's a lot of different things, so you probably aren't gonna do any of that.
Well, I wouldn't think so. I'm not sure what we got to do. It depends upon this hearing, and then we will deed the road right away and get. I've already had Gary Waleco out there, and I've just talked to him about a month ago. Then the road will be deed where the road is right now, and that'll be 4 rods right away.
You told us you understand that the road has to be brought up to the town road standards, county.
It's already 20-foot wide blacktop. It's 4 rods white with ditches and utilities in it, and the sewer runs right down the middle of it. Only thing I haven't done is what you guys see from my lot line. And my lot is the only place that it ain't done yet.
You understand that what needs to be done, then you've talked to
Oh,
Terry
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, and I have to pay for everything. And I already put a light on the beginning of the road where it comes off of 21. It's a light to show where the turnoff is. But I understand I'm going to get new address, right? And that will be it'll be a numbered road, like 19th or whatever it happens to be.
I'd have to look.
That's okay. I just was curious of what.
Normally they are. There are some alternatives that we can pick from in the uniform address code.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have no problem with
I
that.
can go
was
over
just
those
wondering,
with you.
'cause my
but
wife's
it's-
going to ask me all these questions.
Send Shirley in and I'll figure out which,
Yeah, well,
which,
who
which one of the
rules the
possible
roost?
road names she can have.
Will the proposed driveways meet the spacing that's required between the house and lot driveways?
Well,
Town
what
road.
is, I don't know if we don't have there is no driveways right now. My road is the driveway, and Pearl's road, the house that she passed, is about 40, 50 feet from my driveway.
It looks like there's plenty of room. Once the road is established as a public road, driveways should be 75 feet apart from center line to center line.
Well, I think
And
that
150
meets between
feet.
the two houses we are right now. I'm pretty sure my driveway's 75 feet from hers.
And then 150 feet from the intersection with Highway 21. And you should be able to meet that, too.
Oh, yeah, we don't have no problem with that. What they do with the rest of the property, there's, I think, 30-some acres up there yet between the golf course and that's immaterial because we're not developing it or anything like that.
Are any of these lands assessed as agricultural lands?
I think that's what it is, isn't it?
I don't know, that, we talked about that day, and you were gonna go down and talk to,
Yeah, I think it was.
the treasurer and see if there was any,
We're assessed residential. But some of them lots aren't.
there are times that if you're assessed agricultural and you switch over to residential,
That was a farm at all.
there are some penalties that need to be paid, so you need to talk to the treasurer and see how
I
they're,
went down and asked them if everything, what it was zoned, and they said everything was okay. I didn't.
okay. And it might,
I
because it's
wasn't
all
going to
wooded,
do that. I went right down there and I talked to them.
because it's all wooded, it might be considered more recreational, or it might not be assessed as agricultural.
I'm not sure how that.
Forest land, I'm trying to think of how they assess stuff.
And this, for me to sell trains, that's just a conditional. I don't make anything or do anything. It's just a part-time thing. I'm not gonna go into, open up a retail store, the big thing. My train area is probably about 20 foot square, 15.
Are you aware of all the surveying requirements?
Well, this road is already had Pat Greer out there surveying. We've already been surveying.
Lots need to be surveyed.
He drew a map, I think you have a map of it, the way it's gonna be done. The road is not, the real road that's up there is off of what the map was originally. Terry has a map of the,
Yeah, we have a sketch.
and you can see where the new lines will be for the road. And that's what Pat Creer will be surveying out, and that'll be turned over to the township if they, when I get the rest of it blacktop, and we're gonna talk to Kelly about doing the one.
We talked about the uniform property address numbering requirements, so you know about that, and the road naming requirements, you know about that. You'll be building the road with the approval of the certified survey map, or you'll be furnishing a bond? Are you gonna build the road yourself, get it done?
The road is all built except the last
Yeah,
minute, and I'm
but
paying
you're
for that myself.
gonna do that, okay.
I don't need no bond with it.
The approval is granted, when would the certified survey maps be done?
As soon as you give me okay, I'll have Pat draw it up. He didn't draw it up permanently because we didn't know what we were gonna do, and if we had to make some changes to it, we would make the changes.
Could you describe your business in a little bit more detail for the conditional use?
Train business, Palmer.
Train.
I'm a service station for Lionel Trains. I repair Lionel trains for the company, and I work mainly the repair work out of my basement, but I sell new ones, and stuff, but that's in my office where I'm a plumber by trade, and that's in my office where my plumbing, where Shirley does, our office is what it is. Where my secretary, well, I call her a secretary, she doesn't think so, but.
You do most of the work through the internet or through mail service?
I do most everything on the internet. And we go to train shows. That's what I just have a place to just, put the stuff out. If I would tell you how many customers I get in a year, I'd have to say probably 30. We don't do it for, it's not a business, but it would be nice. Reason I think Terry said for me to do it, to put a sign up on the road, I'd have to have it zoned that I could do that. And that's what I'm really after. And I'm not after the sign, as soon as I get out of it, the sign comes down. That's the only thing that'd ever be used in there for that.
Are you planning any employees outside the immediate family for this?
We have in the plumbing business we do, but that's not on that. That's just me, not even her.
You have plenty of parking for the customers and for deliveries?
Yeah. I think the amount of customers we have.
Are you planning any advertising sign for the train thing?
Well, I might put one up on the road, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that, because most of my stuff is done on the internet. I haven't really decided on that.
Are you aware of the state building codes and other state requirements? Will they all be met on that building?
I think everything that I have to have. We don't have a bathroom in there because it ain't big enough, but I have a bathroom in my, where I do my repair work, and they can use that, because they come in there for repairs.
You're not planning any new buildings for that? You're gonna use existing
Heavens,
buildings?
no. Well, I have a little outbuilding out there that them Mennonite people make. I got one of those to store my garden stuff in.
Sign said closed when we were
It'd
there.
probably be about 8 by, what's that?
The sign said closed when we were there.
That's on your little shop.
That's my shop.
Yeah.
But I got a tiny little building where I keep
okay.
because I do a lot of flowers and garden stuff, and I keep my fertilizer, and it's a small building. I think it's, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet by 8. It matches my house. It's on timbers.
You said before sanitary facilities are in the house if somebody needs to use them.
Yeah, the sewer lines are all tapped out for the lots. There's already laterals going to these lots on both sides of the road, even the part that's not being done anything with.
We're talking about your little shop there. If
There ain't no
somebody
plumbing in
somebody
it.
needs to use the bathroom, you let them use the house?
Yeah, the house, yeah, there's no plumbing in it.
That's all the questions we got.
Any other committee questions? Okay, thank you, Harry. Okay, correspondence?
Again, we had the letter from DNR, and I'll read the comments related to the Handle the Third application. It says the proposed lots are sufficient in size to allow reasonably sized structures and meet ordinary high water mark setbacks, provided wetlands are not a factor in any of the lots. The department requests a site visit be scheduled to determine if any wetlands exist on the property, and if so, to delineate them. If wetlands are delineated, future development of the lot shall meet all wetland requirements that may apply. And that was signed Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources.
That's the end of the correspondence?
That's the end of the correspondence. No one registered.
Nobody registered in favor or opposition. Staff comments, please.
Second zone change for tonight. Again, it needs to go through Planning and Zoning, County Board, and the Town Board. In this case, we're also kind of looking at a conditional use permit within the zone change. So this is a little bit of a combination of the two. The northerly lot where Harry lives could have a business such as this as a home occupation if it was zoned agricultural. But because he's changing the zoning to residential, that's what's prompting him to go through the conditional use as well. So, he moved his business basically from in town to out to this location, so he wants to get it all squared away. When the committee visited the property, they noted the proposed lots are of ample size compared to others in the area. The road must be named and address numbers assigned in accordance with the Waushara County Address Code. And although the applicant indicated that they do not want to pave the cul-de-sac at this time, that's going to be up to the town as to what they accept. I should probably also explain a little bit about when the certified survey map is done. What happens is they actually survey out the road and they can deed it over to the township. The township can accept it right on the certified survey map. In order for the township to accept the property, that's one thing, but if they're going to accept the road, it would have to be done before he did the certified survey map. or a bond would have to be furnished so that we could finish the work that needs to be done to bring it up to county and town standards. So if an approval is considered, there are some conditions that would delineate how that gets done and make sure that you're not left with a road that doesn't meet the town standards in the end. And then we do have a site visit planned for next Tuesday. The Army Corps of Engineers and the DNR are coming out, and they said that they would flag the wetlands, especially because Harry said that he would then put them on the certified survey map. So whatever they flag, we get a permanent record of, and then anyone buying the property realizes that they're there. So that is planned for next Tuesday. And that's it for my comments.
So anything you'd like to add, Harry? No?
You were wondering, I don't store any of my plumbing business. We have a warehouse over on Dearborn Avenue in the town of, it's in Marquette County. So there's nothing in my plumbing business that would be stored here. The only thing that building would have would be, like I said, the extra trains that I have. But our plumbing business has nothing. All that's in that building is the computer and my fax machine and what we use for paying bills.
All right, thank you. Okay, that concludes our applications for tonight. We will now continue on with the rest of our agenda. Roll call showing that everyone is present. I have an agenda in front of you. How do you find